Good evening and welcome to tonight's show from DJNTV, Disc Jockey News TV. Tonight's show is brought to you by Electra Voice, DJ Event Planner, DJ Trivia, Odyssey Innovative Designs and Cases, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, and the DJNTV Insiders.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the DJ Spotlight here on Disc Jockey News TV. Mizeyesis, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you are very busy.
Yes, I am. But you know, I have time. Always have time for music.
Yes, and you have so many amazing things to talk about. So let's jump into it. If you could sum up in a few minutes, maybe some key points in your career that kind of led you to where you are today. Let's hear about that, a little bit about your backstory.
I did not see myself DJing at all. About 20 years ago, I was a professional dancer living in New York. And I went to college for dance and was going to raves and jungle shows and really fell in love with the music, particularly after my career ended in dance. I was getting out of a very toxic relationship. I was injured and needed a creative outlet. So I went to a record store and bought 5 pieces of vinyl. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to learn something new. And brought my friends turntables, and 3 months later, it made sense. And 2 years later, I had my first booking and started a crew in Hartford, Connecticut called Threshold Sounds. And I was the only woman. I put together a small crew of DJs locally in the area that was spinning jungle and drum and bass. We threw a night at Sully's Pub. And slowly, we started bringing in a lot of acts from New York, a lot of people that we networked with, people like Lion Dub, Winter, Stripe, Dave Schickman. And I remember our 4th year anniversary, we brought Remark from the UK on his first US tour. And the night ended because, as you know, with jungle nights, sometimes owners aren't very happy with them. So at that point, I was at a crossroads. The guys I was working with, they were all producers and doing their thing. Me, I was just DJing. But a lot of people out of state started to book me, particularly in New York City and Maine and Massachusetts. And slowly I started to join other crews and network with other people, put out mixtapes, and then found myself in 2011 with a radio show. I started talking to you a lot online, and that led me to DNB Girls. TC Islam picked me up with Hip Step, and things just started to snowball. I started to get a lot of recognition out of nowhere and realized that, hey, maybe I'm good at this. I love doing this. I'm good at it. And just kept pushing. And 2013 was my first UK booking. I lived there in 2007. I went for a 10-day trip and knew a lot of people there from dogsonacid.com. And after that experience, talking to Double O, because I got booked for Rupture, one thing that he said to me was, you're at a point in your career where you should think about producing. And I had started messing around with Ableton, but I really wasn't comfortable with it. And when I came back home, I spent 2 weeks really digging into tutorials and a lot of online material to just sort of learn. And I put out just a little tune called To Absolve, and it got a lot of reviews on various different blogs. I was approached by Patrick Courier, who runs Imprint, but he also ran a label called Faction Digital, which is now the sister label to Imprint, and worked 2 years on an EP called Seven Systems. And the concept of it was the seven chakras. And I wanted to take that ideology and bring it into jungle and bass music. I also started becoming friends with other producers, Skru out of Greece. So I would send him, things I was working on, and we decided we wanted to work together. So my first release was actually on a UK label, Hexagon Digital, which is out of Derby by Nottingham. And we put out 2 tunes on his EP. And then right after that, my release came out, and it got amazing reviews. It hit the Beatport top 10 for weeks. I started working on other projects with small US labels and other UK labels, and that snowballs with me working with AwakeFM. We worked on a collab on Omni Music, Yeska Beatz out of California, small projects with Junglist Resistance, and yeah, here I am. It's on review. I would have never saw any of this coming, and I'm thankful, and I feel very blessed to be here. So that's in short how all of this started. It's been 17 years.
You're such a badass. I remember we were playing the New York State Festival.
Oh man, the Siderata.
And I saw you there.
Yeah.
And I feel like we were talking online before then.
Yeah, we were. MySpace.
MySpace. Oh my God, yeah.
I remember how I found you was there was an article about these really amazing women, because there weren't many women spinning drum and bass. I knew of Sister Collective in New York City, which was Stripe and Winter and Lindsay. But then I heard about you guys, B-Trade, you, and a bunch of other women in Canada. And I was like, oh, wow. And I added you. And we started talking, and I met you and Jams, because I was also messing around with bass music and dubstep, and Jams was really pushing garage and dubstep in Canada. And you were really the queen of drum and bass at that time. So it was really, really awesome to just connect with so many powerful women doing the same thing. We were probably the only singular woman in our scenes. The rest were men. Mm-hmm. And now, fast forward 15 years later, there's so many women. It's awesome. It's so awesome.
Oh, it's so incredible. And I know that you've been like a driving force in this industry. You have been really about helping others and building community. And I mean, it's a huge part of why I wanted to do the spotlight, because I want to amplify people that are making that kind of difference in building community. I'm curious, because you're curating and finding time for making music and DJ sets. What drives you? And has it always been this way, or was that a learned habit?
It's always been this way for me. When I really love something, I give my all, and it's a passion, it's like, how can I do better for myself? How can I do better for other people? How can I one up on myself with this project? How can I improve what I've already been doing? And if I can improve what I've been doing, I can help other people improve what they've been doing. And it's not just women that I've worked with, it's men too. There's a DJ in Connecticut, Ellsworth. The first time I heard him, I was just like, this guy is amazing. And now, he has his own following. I helped, develop him as an artist and really have pushed him. And he's amazing, and that's the kind of things that I enjoy doing. I enjoy helping others and helping them believe in themselves, helping them get the confidence so that they can go and help someone else too. It's all about giving back, it's paying it forward,
It really is. And it's so interesting because like a lot of the high performance habit, like books that teach you about how to be a more driven individual, get more things done. Talk about serving others. It talks about helping and putting other people first, and how much these individuals end up gaining from it. So I love that you bring it up, and I love how I love how you just know this is what you need to be doing, and that it drives you. That's super inspiring, and I hope other people that are listening want to be more like that if they're not already.
Yeah. Some of the things that I want to do in the future is definitely more artist development. I feel that that's important, particularly with DJing. You know, in the past several years, we've had so many amazing DJs that have gotten lost. And even me, you know, in the past 2 years, I've really pushed myself very, very hard, particularly after getting sick and then coming back and healing. And, you know, I said to myself, don't take this for granted. You have a gift here, you know, and it's led me to not just DJ in the UK, but all over the country. Panama, I've worked with Geo Paradise on a project where this past year with Tribal Gathering, putting together a female database of all these women across the world, not just jungle and drum and bass, but trance and house and everything. And this database is available to anyone who wants to check it out. And I booked 12 women from the United States, UK, Costa Rica, everywhere, and was able to schedule them in the festival and have them perform. And this year, unlike last year, you know, I was a featured artist, but this year I took a step back and was able to watch them shine. I had Neversoft, IFA, Misfortune, nor 100 Drums out of California, so many. And that, you know, in reflection was very fulfilling. You know, I can talk for days about all the gigs that I've had. You know, Rupture has been amazing, or playing at Respect with Reedspeed and SPY. I could talk about all those things, but when I'm able to do things for other people like that, it really, really feeds my soul, you know?
You know, recently, well, of course you know this, there was a video article came out talking about how you've been named one of the top female DNB DJs. But let's just say what it is, one of the top, not DJs, it was producers. So let's just say one of the top DNB producers. And I mean, like you said, like you've had such a busy year. I would love to hear about your workflow in the studio. What does that look like?
It's very simple. I actually use a lot of plugins and a lot of soft synths. I really like Ableton. You know, I'm actually in Boston to learn more, not just Ableton, but Logic, hopefully, and Pro Tools. Hopefully get certified in it. Because some of the things that I want to do is do more studio work. I also recently got an MPC 1000 because I really want to dive into not relying on a computer to make music. And it's a little more challenging than I thought it would be, but it's fun. I also have an Akai MIDI keyboard and an M Audio 16-pad drum machine. So, you know, a lot of the things that I use Serum, you know, I use a lot of compressors, and yeah, a lot of my production really in actuality is very simple because I follow the tradition of jungle and DNB producers that use a lot of breakbeats. So sort of like your Scientific Wax or your Rupture or your Shogun Audio or Omni Music, which I'm signed to, things like that. That's the kind of sound that I really enjoy making. And one of the reasons why I did get the MPC was so that I can dig more into making more down-tempo and trip-hop oriented music, which, you know, would utilize an MPC for that.
That's so rad. And I love that you challenge yourself. You're like, you know what?
I do.
Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you obviously have the confidence of knowing that you can figure it out. And so,
Yeah.
you know, just that uncomfortableness now and then, rocking it. So let's take a slight turn and talk about how you've learned and grown in this new job and how it's affected your mental state. Because what some people might not know is right now you are on the job, but you're taking a little break to do this interview. So yeah, tell us about the growth that has come through this.
You know, it's really interesting. Boston's a very interesting city. There is a lot more individuals here that are aware of electronic music than where I used to live in Connecticut. And, you know, it's awesome to have these little conversations with people. You know, a lot of times I'm playing jazz or some sort of abstract funk or down-tempo, actually made by a lot of drum and bass producers. And we'll get on the subject of, you know, things that I did in the 90s, and come to find out there might be a 50-year-old in the car, but they were kind of doing the same thing. So, you know, we talk about our experiences in the 90s, and I've actually developed a fan base from driving Lyft and Uber and made connections with other people. Boston is kind of another home for me, where I've done a lot here. And one of the reasons why I wanted to come here, there's a lot of really amazing music schools and a lot of really amazing opportunities to grow and sort of learn. There's a lot of really serious artists, not just in electronic music, but also in hip hop and, you know, rock and other genres. So being surrounded by that creativity has definitely inspired me to take a step back and review what I'm doing and the things that I want to do. And in a few weeks, I'm going to start working on another very long EP. It's probably going to take me a while because I want to express the emotions and the feelings that I've had over the past year. And how do I do that? You know, a combination of binaural beats and frequencies and hertz that sort of accentuate those emotions. How am I going to put that to drum and bass and jungle and bass music? How am I going to express these things so that when the person listens to it, they feel it? And that's what I want to do. And I'm doing it.
I love how thoughtful you are. I love that you think about not only, you know, how am I going to make this, but like, what emotion do I want to get from it? Because those are the timeless tracks that people listen to forever because of that emotional connection they had to it. I was watching an Il Gates workflow thing, and he was talking about you know, getting emotion in your track, and he's like, if you're feeling it, like right, because if you open up that project later, you might not still have that emotion. You might have trouble tapping into it. So write as much of that, you know, melody and, you know, your background ambiance. Like try to get that in your super loop and then lay it out.
I forget who said this. There was one tutorial I watched a while ago. It might have been Break, but or it might have been someone else. But one of the things that they said is exactly what you were referring to. Always write. Keep writing. And, you know, I'll start a project, and if I get stuck, instead of sitting there and saying, okay, I'm stuck, I have writer's block, I'll open another window and start another one and keep doing that. And then I'll leave those closed, and then I'll go back to them. Maybe months later, I'm like, oh, wait, I did this. So let me add this and that. Let me add this rise to this. Let me add this pad overlay to this. Let me put this bass line in it. How does that make me feel? What am I trying to convey here? What am I trying to put forward here? And I find that workflow for me has been more, how do I say, productive. Yeah. It's been more productive to do that, to always constantly write something. Like I have 30 tracks that I have not finished. And that's okay because sometimes they're templates for something else. Sometimes they're not supposed to be finished. Sometimes there's aspects of them that I'll bring into a new track. It's fine. That's what you're supposed to do as a producer, you know, and if you can constantly keep that, you're constantly going to have a workflow.
Oh, I love that. I love what you just said there. And I know for myself, I'm trying to get into the habit. I've been on and off with the habit of like finishing music and trying not to open too many. But I know sometimes I'll open up old projects and I'm like, oh, I got the emotion in there. I just didn't finish the other parts. But I feel the emotion because it's fresh ears, because I've like progressed more in my process and I've learned more. It's so much easier to take it from there. I love that you bring that up. That is so freaking smart. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So what projects are you currently curating and facilitating? So you talked about the album. Is there anything else that's happening right now, maybe within your community?
Absolutely. Yeah. One project that I'm working on 3 years ago, myself, Elijah Divine, and Messenger, we started a trio. And the three of us have been friends for a long time. This is like 20 years of friendship. And we always got booked together. And we started to think, okay, maybe we should do more than just play. We should call ourselves a name, Amun-Ra Trifecta. And the reason why we chose that is we all have a love of Egyptology. We're all friends. It also represents a triad of Horus, Isis, and Osiris. Osiris is definitely Messenger. He's like the father. I'm the mother. That's why I'm Mizeyesis. And Elijah Divine is another messenger representing Horus, the light. He speaks on the mic. One of the things that we are working on is production. Elijah Divine has a lot of vocals and vox, and Messenger has done quite a bit of remixes over the past year. And myself, you know, have put out a lot of tunes. So we're going to be working on a couple of beats for everyone to kind of showcase our sound and showcase what we do. And I'm pretty excited about that one. I would say that one is going to be different. Some of the things that we're going to be doing is working with some hip-hop groups. There's one group that we really, really, really like. I just want to give them a shout. They're a Boston local. Their name is Still Gold. They were featured actually in Afropunk probably a few years ago for making a song that spoke against social injustice. And they're very aware. They're a mix of punk, hip hop, and electronic music. Two of the guys are teachers at Berkeley. One of the guys, you know, he uses a lot of guitar effect pedals in his live, performances. And another guy is a Boston hip hop, legend. And when I watch them, I just get really, really inspired. And the other day I was playing Messenger and Elijah Divine, some of their music, and they were like, yeah, we really should link with those guys. And there's other people too, but look out for some of that. That's going to be in the pipeline, hopefully.
Oh, I love it. Well, to end off this amazing interview, are there any other things you want people to know about? Maybe some upcoming shows, workshops? What should people know?
Some of the things that I did this summer, I developed a real passion for working with children, and I linked with Girls Rock. Girls Rock is actually an international organization. They have a chapter here in Boston. And for my birthday, I put a link for donations for a charity, and one of them reached out for me and, asked if I was interested in doing some sound engineering for a project that they were doing with kids in the Boston area. And I said, yeah, absolutely. That's what I want to go to school for. And so I first did this recording, engineering, as these amazing girls in Boston wrote their own songs. And the song is absolutely gorgeous. And they're putting out the CD later this year featuring their work. And it was a success. I'll definitely post when that is up. And after that, another leader in that organization approached me about teaching a DJ workshop. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to sort of educate young ladies on, women have had a very big influence in electronic music and DJ culture. And I started with Delia Derbyshire, Sandra Ram, who, if you're a producer, she made a special modulator that we use today. Lady D, who was the first female hip hop DJ, so many others. And I taught them, about turntables and baby scratching and so on and so forth. And just seeing the joy in their faces when they would touch the equipment, it did something to me. It's something that I have a hard time really explaining, but everyone that has seen, pictures and have seen me talk about it has mentioned, this is something that is obviously becoming a passion of yours. And I think that not just myself, but more of us should look at those avenues of, how can we help influence new generations? I made a post today about women of color in jungle and drum and bass, and inclusion right now is a very, very important topic, whether it's women of color, men of color, also LGBTQ. And I just wanted to do my part to get the information out there. I feel that a lot of times people aren't aware that there are so many groups within this music because we're so focused on, men. And there's so many. I couldn't believe today in the post that I made the amount of women of color that actually exist in the scene. And I feel that if I can do that, maybe promoters and people, label owners will take it a little more seriously. Not just women of color, but men of color, women in general, LGBTQ, and say, hey, I've been blind. I've only looked at what's been spoon-fed to me. Let me go dig deeper. And with jungle and drum and bass, within the music, we're always looking for samples. We're always looking for these things to help improve our music. We should also look for people that can help bring forth better vibes to our events. Because when you look at when the scene first started and you look at the lineups, it was very culturally diverse. And the music itself is a melting pot. It's a melting pot of every single culture you can think of. You listen to it, you hear the European influence, the Asian influence, the African influence, and that was it. You listen to the old interviews of producers when they were in their teens, and they talk about that. So how do we get away from that? And we need to bring it back, because all of us aren't going to do this forever. There's going to be a new generation, and I want that new generation to feel confident in going in and saying, hey, I'm going to do this, just like Chemistry did for me, or Storm did for me, or Flight did for me, or you. I mean, we have to. We have to.
I so love that you're example, and I really appreciate you taking time to come and share your thoughts, insight, because this is such incredible information, and it's continuing to educate us about experiences that we might not have, experiences that we might not see, and people that exist. And we need to try harder as artists, as producers, as promoters, as fans of music, to find new music, diverse producers, singers, songwriters, and community, especially the way you are.
Yeah, I don't want to see any more people feel left out. Yeah. And that happens a lot in this music. Whether it's not just drum and bass, a lot of people who don't fit the mainstream demographic, after a while they give up, because they're not included. And it's time for that to stop. We're missing out on a lot of really good music by doing that.
This is so lovely. Thank you. For the rest of y'all that have this episode today, make sure you let us know anything that Miss Isis said that really stood out to you, maybe an experience that has inspired you to build your community? Let us know in the comments below and let us know how you that happened. Start working towards it today. And as always, make sure you don't let no one kill your vibe.
Don't kill that vibe, people.